folks, Doc Stars here. Before I jump into describing what the new frequencies are, I want to share a really interesting thought with you. I had a discussion with my mentor about why he thought these particular frequencies were significant. And instead of using the word COVID, I'm going to use Cordoba. So just replace that. I'm paraphrasing what he said. Essentially, it's higher truth knocks out Cordoba ignorance in the mind, and then potentially it can knock it out in the body. I really liked that because the focus of our conversation was, he feels that there's kind of like a non-beingness to Cordoba, but that there's kind of an evil association. It has to do with like fear, ignorance, being stuck in a lower frame of mind. And what he was basically telling me was that, and I was asking him if I was interpreting what he was saying properly, and it seemed like I was. But it's sometimes if you can get your mind and your emotions focused on something that's a real potential, successful, vitalizing option. In other words, you have the option in your mind as to, what might be helpful to you, then this starts to re-attenuate, get you out of that previous fear state, get you out of that place where Cordoba's always on your mind, 24 hours, 7 days a week. So there's a couple of things I want to there's some new breakthroughs that we've had here. I'm pretty happy with it so far. You definitely get a pretty strong positive sensation when you listen to these new tracks. What we've done here is we've layered multiple elements. So we have what I'm calling our SOS directives, which is Sound of Stars frequencies, as a bioactive layer in a number of the different tracks. But then what we're also doing is we're working with actual physical characteristics of substances. So the new frequencies that we've got that are emulations: glutathione, hyaluronic acid, N-Acetyl-Carnitine or NAC, quercitin, vitamin C, and zinc. Now, what I wanted to do here is I wanted to try both something new and different, and also use some of our reliable, traditional stuff. And I've broken down, there's 6 new frequencies. Each of these frequencies collections has 3 tracks. So one of the tracks is dedicated for just coil use. The other 2 tracks are just for audio listening, basically brainwave style, body, mind, body entrainment. And out of those 3 tracks per collection, one has an embedded SOS directive on it, and then the other one are just the physical dimensional characteristics. But I've also been experimenting with, and I feel like I'm on the right track with this. There's a few mysteries that exist in the Rife community. I've talked about them a little bit in the past, but basically one of the ideas is if you take a significant marker of, especially like a substance as a target, so we might use things like mass, weight, density, dimensional lengths, widths, some kind of defining attribute where we hope to elicit or trigger a response. What I've done is I've managed to track down, one of the problems when we're doing audio frequency renders is something called drift, and also a lot of the frequency generators out there don't really have high precision. So after a lot of work and digging, I managed to actually round up some tools that give me a whole lot more precision insofar as the actual render of it. When I'm on the design table, I'm able to design frequencies, to a fairly accurate, floating point decimal precision. All that basically means is just that how much closer to the true measure are we? And the closer we are, the hope is the more of a positive response that we get. But the other thing I did here is I believe I may have successfully solved one of the mysteries floating about in some communities. We talked about scalar before. The use of scalar in the spooky community is different from what you would see in other alternative science communities, and all they're really saying is that We've included another interference pattern, possibly as a beat frequency for the primary fundamental, because it seems to improve efficacy. Now what I've done is I've greatly elaborated and extrapolated that, and I believe I've found out what tones should actually be going with the fundamental to improve efficacy. So that's been included in these tracks. And then the other thing is, in these tracks I've included a ranging microtubule. Microtubules are basically small tubes that are made largely of a protein called tubulin. They're connected adjacent to the nucleus in the cell. So they're very tiny. There's been a lot of speculation over the last few years that they may theoretically be a sort of waveguide for consciousness. So waveguide is basically just a physical structure that is, dimensioned in a way that makes it better able to facilitate a specific kind of wavelength or frequency. In other words, when you have antennas, usually antennas are physically dimensioned, such that they represent values associated with the wavelength, so harmonics of it, that sort of thing. Now, there's also been a lot of really interesting studies recently about using frequencies that are within resonance of microtubules for improving things like Alzheimer's. And you can look that up online. There's a very, very specific kind of bandwidth, starting at around 40 hertz, up and down a bit, and up a little bit, that they think is likely related to resonating microtubules. But the reason that I say this is just that there's lots of different ways to represent substances when you're doing frequency emulation. And what I wanted to do, as you know, our SOS directives have a pretty good track record of just doing like mind state improvement. So that's a very specific technology. But I wanted to create something a little bit new and different here. So what I've done is I've determined with a high degree of accuracy and precision what the fundamental tone or frequency for each given substance is, but I've scaled it so that it's in close proximity to the resonant bandwidth of microtubules. Because the idea is that I don't know if I personally agree entirely that it's microtubules themselves that are solely related to consciousness or the instantiation or processing of consciousness, but it very well could be that they play an important part. And my guess is the part that they probably play, has something to do with attenuation, sustain, kind of like if you're looking at, lights or audio characteristics, volume, magnitude, warble, that sort of thing. I have a feeling that that microtubules coming out of the centrosome adjacent to the nucleus could play a significant part. So what I've done here is I've modeled this so that a fundamental of each substance is within range of a standard microtubule resonant pattern. All that basically means is that, the hope is that because the fundamental is within range of the microtubule inherent resonance, that there could be much more significant pickup. So in other words, if these microtubules are being resonated or pinged and they're being fed specific information with the substance, it may be that they sense that the substance is closer and more tangible. In the comment section below, you'll find a link. I'm going to put these on sale. If I were to wrap them all together, I think the whole price would be somewhere over $550 US. I'm going to knock the whole collection down to somewhere around $300, $350. And then I'm going to make the individual collections available, and they'll go for like $69 or something like that. So there's 6 new frequencies. We're using some pretty interesting techniques here. They sound trippy. I'm I'm going to include about a 30 seconds audio clip, probably from the Zinc, and so you can listen to that. And all of the tracks sound different, but they're using similar techniques. So again, that's glutathione, hyaluronic acid, N-Acetyl-cysteine, quercitin, vitamin C, and zinc. Check out the 30-second audio clip following this if you want to, get these and experiment with them. The goal of these tracks is to get you into kind of like a positive, deep meditative state where the options associated with self-improvement related to the substances become something that's very tangible and real, and hopefully gets you out of the space where there's just fear, the unknown, that sort of thing. I like how they feel myself. This could be some of my better work that I've done so far. So check it out. See the links below.